Bonjour, Kinamagi and Ireland Indijnikas, and welcome to this production of the Mind Math Network. Today's lesson, Chapter 8, Lesson 3, Simplest Form. By reviewing our previous session's work, the greatest common factor of 21 and 30 was 3, because 21 is 3 times 7, and 30 is 3 times 2 times 5, so 3 is the only one. And then in the case of 12, 30, and 72, it was 6. 9 bottles, and then Garth with 2 boxes, Rico 5 boxes, my 5 boxes, or 4 boxes and 5 boxes. The greatest of the common factors of 2 or more numbers is the greatest common factor. Makes sense that you have greatest and greatest. And then the story problem. Today's work, we're going to actually see a little bit of fraction love here. We're going to look at how to take a fraction and write it in simplest form. Another term for that will be lowest terms, and we'll be using both of those when we get through here. So for tonight's homework, you'll be determining if it's already simplified, or then you'll put it in simplest form. Let's see, there's 7 problems here, one of which is a vocabulary check. Our essential question: how are factors and multiples helpful in solving problems? Let's begin with my portion of this. Part is not in your book, so you do not have to be on page 563 yet. And how do I know if a fraction is in simplest form? Simply put, is there a common factor that if I divide into top and bottom will go evenly? So for instance, if I had 3/4, I know that my greatest common factors are 3 and 4. 1 times 3, 1, 2, and 4. The greatest common factor is 1. There's nothing I can do. It's in simplest form. 6/8, however, and by the way, if you ever see where it's an even number for a numerator and denominator, you know it's not in simplest form. So for 6, I could say that it's 1, 2, 3, and 6. For 8, it's 1, 2, 4, and 8. The greatest common factor is the 2. So I can divide the top and the bottom by that 2. And you always have to do the top and the bottom. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So yes, 6/8 and 3/4 are equivalent fractions. They're the same amount. But that's how you would look at that. Draw a line to match each fraction with its simplest form. If the fraction is already in its simplest form, draw a line to match to simplest form. So let's get my annotation tools. 15/21. I know that 3 will go into both of these. So that 5/7, and hey, that one matches. 8/12. 4 goes into 8 and goes into 12. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So it's 2/3. 18/24. 18 and 24 are both divisible by 6. So 3/4. This one would actually match up with our previous example. 7/17. These are both prime numbers. They're in simplest form. 24/54. Now, this one could take you a minute. You could go by 2 originally, and you get 12/27. And you say, well, I can see a 3 into both of those. So let's start with dividing by 6. 24, let's change the color there. 24 divided by 6 is 4. 54 divided by 6 is 9. So you can see the matching up. The more practice you have with math facts, the easier this will become. So you want to know your greatest common factor, but you also need to have a good grasp of your multiplication facts. Not all the way 12 times 12, but the more you practice, the better. You see that we did well. Nadia has read 36 pages of her 75-page book. Harper's read 60 pages of his 125-page book. Who has read a larger fraction? So we have 36 over 75. And I look at numbers that are going to go into both of these. 36, and it's not going to be 2. It can be divided by 3. Let's see what that gives me. So 12 25ths. All right, not bad. 60 over 125. I know it can be divided by 5. But when you do that, you have to divide top and bottom by the same thing. 60 divided by 5 is 12. 125 divided by 5 is going to be 25. It's exactly the same. All right, let's go ahead and move into the book portion here. You should be on page 563. If you need to pause the video to get your packet, feel free to do such. I do expect that you will fill these in as we go. That'll provide an artifact that you can use when doing the assignment. There are 2 vocabulary words. First one is simplest form. And that is a fraction is written in simplest form when the greatest common factor of the numerator and denominator is 1. The simplest form of a fraction is one of many equivalent fractions. And equivalent fractions are fractions that name the same number, such as the previous example where they both simplify to 12 25ths. So let's look at example basic on 563. And your page will have more. This is kind of spread out. Our step 1 is list the factors, because we want to simplify 12 22nds. And we're going to circle the greatest common factor. It has a 1, it has a 2. Yep, that's it. 2 is the biggest. So the greatest common factor of 12 and 22 is 2. So go ahead and write that down and circle. I could have circled 1 and then just figured out which one's the biggest as well, but 2 is the simplest. All right, I'll go ahead and clear the drawing. And remember, whenever you hear me say clear, I'm going to clear the screen. That's your 2-second warning to pause the video if you need more time. All right, I'm going to clear all drawings. Going on here. So now that I know the greatest common factor is 2, I'm going to divide the numerator and the denominator by the same 2. I can't divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 3. It has to be by the same number. Because if you look at it, 2 over 2, if 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we're not changing the value of the fraction. We're just changing the name of the fraction. That's why it has to be the top and bottom have to be the same. That's why they kind of draw this 1 here. So you realize it's not changing the answer or the value. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And 22 divided by 2 is 11. My next step is to find the greatest common factor of 6 and 11. And that's not going to be very much in the way of work because 11 is a prime number. So the greatest common factor is 1. So Angie's vertical jump is 6/11 of Holly's vertical jump. I could check it, the model. Let's go a little third. I could shave 12 out of 22. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And then I could do 6 out of 11. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So notice I shaded in the exact same amount. So that means we did good. Go ahead and take care of this. You should pause the video if you need to write anything further in. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and we're going to try the top of page 564. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the drawings. See our answers. 18/30ths in the simplest form. So we have a helpful hint. Dividing the numerator and denominator by the same number is the same as dividing the fraction by 1. The result is an equivalent or equal fraction. So I need to figure out, in fact, right now, they just told you to go ahead and divide by 2 because they're both even numbers. This is another strategy of doing this where you don't just figure out the greatest common factor. But 18 divided by 2 is 9. 30 divided by 2 is 15. But I can't say I'm done because 9 has factors of 1, 3, 9. 15 has one of 1, 3, 5, and 15. So I can divide both of those by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So my simplest form of 18/30ths is actually 3/5. These are equivalent. If I gave you 18/30ths of $1 million, it'd be the same amount of money as 3/5 of $1 million. So go ahead and write that in. And then we're going to try just a couple more in the guided practice. We'll try one, then you'll try one, and then you'll practice a couple. And then you'll be off on your own to challenge yourself. I'm going to go ahead and clear all the drawings. And that's the part that we already filled in. So number 1, let's do that together. Number 2, you will do. Write each fraction in simplest form. If the fraction is already in simplest form, write simplified. 4/6. 4 is 1, 2, and 4. 6 is 1, 2, 3, and 6. So I divide top and bottom by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is, you're right, 3. So this becomes my simplest form. So 4/6 and 2/3 is the same. Now I want you guys to try number 2. Now they've given you some hints here. And you're going to go ahead and solve it anyways. You may pause the video now and then unpause when you're ready. Go ahead and pause. Welcome back. Let's see what we had here. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. If I have a numerator of 1, we know we have reached the end. There's nothing further we can do. Because, well, there isn't any more other options for common factors. So 1/6. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear the drawings. And let's go past the talk math. Explain how to find the simplest form of any fraction. Divide top and bottom by the greatest common factor. Period. End of game. All right, so you're going to do numbers 3, 4, and 5. You're going to, once I tell you to, you're going to pause the video. You're going to find the simplest form of 6/8, 6/10, and 3/18. If the fraction is already in simplest form, write simplified. I'll give you a hint. None of these 3 are already in simplest form. Also keep in mind, if you hear the word simplest form, sometimes other publications will call it lowest terms. I want you to know both terms. All right, so go ahead and pause the video. I'll see how you did. Welcome back. Let's see how we did. 6/8, both can be divisible by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 6/10, I can divide both by 2, so 3/5. 3/18, 18 is divisible by 3, so I divided top and bottom by 3, and I get 1/6. All right, let's do 3 more. And this one will have at least one that is already simplified. You may pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. 2/5 is simplified. The factors of 2 are 1 and 2. Factors of 5 are 1 and 5. 1 is that greatest common factor. There's nothing else I can do. 4 goes into 16, so I'm going to divide, or evenly. So I'm going to divide top and bottom by 4. So I get 1/4. 12 24ths. If you think how many hours are in the morning, how many are in a day? So I divided both by 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1. 24 divided by 12 is 2, and I get 1/2. All right, we're going to practice just a couple more. I'm going to skip past these ones. And I want you to try these ones. You're going to be able to use this to figure out what to divide by. So I'm going to do one with you, and then you'll do the numbers 13 and 14. How many times does 7 go into 28? Well, 4 times, right? 7, 14, 21, 28. So if I divided the denominator by 4, I have to do the exact same thing up here. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. All right, so I want you to do numbers 13 and 14. You may pause the video now. Welcome back. Let me just clear that drawing so we get it out of the way. 40 divided by 4 is 10. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So 3 is my missing number. 9 is divisible by 3 times. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So there you go. On the homework, you're going to do the same thing here. You can approach it in any way you want, but if it is simplified already, write simplified. There's an error here. Explain the issue. Write the fraction of the games to make it lost in simplest form. And if you're doing it on a Google form, use the backslash that's underneath your question mark as the divide for division. So it could look like 4/5 could look like this. That works for me if you're doing the Google form. Vocabulary check. Remember, the vocabulary is on page 557, and then we have a test practice question. You may submit this by writing your name on the top of both sides and either scanning or taking a picture and sending it to me via text or email. You may turn this paper in your next session in person, or you may go ahead and fill out the Google form. At this point, go ahead and complete your assignment. If you have any questions, reach out to me at mireland@sagchipschool.net. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. If you need other resources to hear it in another way, reach out and I'll help you find those resources. Have a minogijagad, minwa, pamapi.